Welcome back. Not bad. The smooth bean paste and soft chewy texture left little to be desired. The tea I drank afterwards also accentuated the experience. This was an exquisite piece of work. There's a lot of flowery language for a piece of mochi. Now, how about nenas? The creation was so delicate, one would think it was a high-class Japanese dessert. Since I normally had quite the appetite, I was slightly worried about the size of the portion. But, well, first, a bite. This was quite a difficult one to judge, actually. The ingredients were exactly the same, so there was little difference in flavour. What was different was how it was shaped at the end, so it was to be expected. So the deciding factors would be presentation and volume. The well-formed and well-sized champion versus Nena the challenger, with a size you just couldn't get enough of. Are we reading the same novel now? I'd only had one bite of Nena's. I would probably have to wait until after I was done eating to make my decision. Maybe there was something hidden inside that could cause an upset. Oh, why would you do that? Choo-choo. It seems my prediction was right. My tongue touched something. It didn't feel like something edible, so I reached in with my fingers and grabbed it. What the nani? Nani the what? Before I could fully comprehend what it was, I threw away the rest of the mochi I was eating as fast as I could. It slammed against the wall, causing the bean jam to splatter. I'm sorry, but bean jam just sounds horrendous in English. Bean jam. Delicious bean jam. Then, after sticking for a moment, it slid down to the floor. I was dumbstruck by my own actions. What was I doing? Nena had gone out of her way to make it for me. How could I? Dumbstruck, I looked down at the hand that performed such a vile act. Sorry. Then I remembered what I had taken out of my mouth. Indeed. At first I thought it was a hair. Ew. Even though it was shorter than Mion's, Nena's hair was still quite long. And it wasn't this short. Ew. It was also a bit too hard to be hair. This was just gross in every way. Ew, it was thick enough. Stop, Keiichi, stop. It was thick enough to roll around on my tongue. That's gross. There was a bit of a metallic sheen on one end of it. Ah yes, there was a hole for where the thread goes through. Like it was a sewing needle. Yes, that's right. It looked very much like a sewing needle. Exactly like one. The end was pointed as well. Quite sharply. It really did look like a sewing needle. It's probably a sewing needle, Keiichi. Huh? What did I mean by looked very much like a sewing needle just a bit ago? I couldn't answer. But a voice inside me already knew, and let me know by chattering my molars together. Hate it when that happens. I couldn't stave off the terror welling up inside me. Suddenly, I tasted something metallic and felt a prickling pain at the back of my... Why are you still chewing it? What is wrong with you? Oh, I stuck my finger in the back of my mouth and felt around to see if I was bleeding. Thank you, I hate it. Suddenly, I felt the urge to vomit. Me too. Ugh, the sharp taste of bile irritated the back of my throat. I clasped both hands over my mouth, and after writhing in agony, I was somehow able to hold back the nausea. But did you spit out the needle? I was finally able to breathe normally again, but this time my heart was intensely throbbing. They just made me read that. Then it finally registered. Exactly what was mixed in with the mochi, Keiichi. Come on. Before I could think of the correct word, my hands were already on the move. Splat. Plop. Splort. Thank you for ruining the moment. I tossed the rest of the mochi against the wall. Wait, didn't he already toss it? We were just talking about bean jam. The geometrical patterns of the scattered bean jam on the wall, that's a sentence they just made me read, suddenly invoked a terrible omen in my mind. What? After looking away, I dashed out to the hall and flew upstairs to my room where I stayed under my covers until morning. But I need to know what happened to the needle. I clutched my own shoulders, howling madly in a mix of fear, anger, sadness, and frustration. Also how I go to sleep every night. This wasn't a threat or warning or reminder, nothing as simple as that. What had happened in Hinamizawa? ? What is happening in Hinamizawa? ? What would happen? I didn't know the answer to any of those questions. Where did I break a taboo? Probably everywhere. Regardless, now, Nena and Mion and others, they consider me an enemy. Oh, he's finally having the breakdown. And they thought I should just die. I won't let you kill me. Not for such a pointless reason. I fell into a restless sleep as I was crushed by my negative emotions. It was as if I was being drawn into a billowing, bottomless marsh. Ooh, we got new tips. What's a medicine that makes you commit suicide? What? Hard to swallow. Thank you, I hate it. We got 2. And threat. All right. Let's dig in. Let's cut to the chase. Is there a drug that causes someone to kill themselves? Not directly, no. There's quite a roundabout response. I swear to God, he keeps saying roundabout when talking with Oishi. That's rude, Keiichi. You're saying there's one that does it indirectly. Something that puts you into a suicidal mental state like that. That's hard to say. What would a suicidal mental state be? Like a person with a serious bipolar disorder. It's believed that people are most likely to attempt suicide when swinging from depression to mania. This is a loaded tip. Clinical depression and bipolar disorder are different. Clinical depression indicates a prolonged state of depression, whereas bipolar disorder is characterized by a passive depressed state accompanied by a very active manic state. Individuals with clinical depression suffer from low self-esteem and are quite pessimistic, but rarely commit suicide. They do not have the willpower. Nor does mania on its own lead to suicide. That has an opposite effect, filling the person with confidence and making them feel as though they're walking on air. Thus, they do not. That's interesting. Neither state causes suicide, but when the condition changes, they might do so. There is a desire when in a state of depression, but they do not have the willpower to commit such a formidable act. But when they enter mania, they gain a burst of willpower and their body moves as they desire. I see. So it means they gain the willpower. That's how it goes. That's why patients are given sedatives during that time to keep them from acting on their impulses. Then was Tomitake bipolar? People who suffer from bipolar disorder generally commit suicide by more civilized means, like say hanging or jumping off a building. What the hell is this tip? Self-harm as though going through withdrawal is completely different. Tomitake's death wasn't civilized, so one would think it was caused by some foreign substance. As I said from the start, tell me of a drug that causes someone to commit suicide. There are reports that methamphetamine overdoses produce a condition that resembles bipolar disorder. It's a stimulant. Barbiturate overdoses are also reported to cause erratic behavior. That's a sleep aid. There were no signs of stimulants. Are there any other possibilities? All I can think of is that it's some sort of illness. Something like Graves' disease, which affects the thyroid and is known to cause symptoms that resemble bipolar disorder. But Graves' disease has many characteristic symptoms of its own. The deceased exhibited none of them. I wonder, is there something that could happen more spontaneously? Something that fits this case and would cause someone to want to commit suicide all of a sudden? Are you familiar with organic mental disorders? In short, it's a condition where the brain is out of whack due to physical injury or illness. It can be caused by drugs, but it can also be caused by physical trauma, encephalitis, a stroke, or even tumours. It's not a tumour. Basically, even without a drug, one can succumb to an irregular mental state. The deceased was surrounded after being chased and his life was in danger, right? All that stress could have messed with his brain chemistry, he could have hit his head, and those factors combined might have caused him to mutilate himself. It's a possibility. Could you explain it to me in simpler terms? Wahaha. Basically, he knocked his noggin in the brawl and that made him go haywire. What am I reading? Then his lady didn't have any intent to kill. Just smacked him in a bad place when he nicked some change. Legitimately, what am I reading? The two plump men laughed hoarsely. But of course, it's not like that. Ahem. Undoubtedly. If it was habitual drug use, if it was something mental, the deceased's body holds the key. How are things on your end? Oh my goodness, look at the time. I need to get back soon or Kuma-chan will get angry with me. Yeah. Good luck. Best wishes. Best wishes. What the hell did I just read? What? What? Nani the what? Threat. Herm? Those guys just now. They had national diet badges. Ew. Then it's Prefectural Assembly Member and City Councillor Sonozaki. That's interesting. The Prefectural Assembly Member and City Councillor are related. Aren't they always? It's dirty is what it is. Shouting out each other's name during elections. While one is up for election, the other holds an assembly and they double up their campaign activities. Blatantly. I don't know much about this stuff, but isn't that against the rules of the election? As long as they have no prior consultation, there are no restrictions on their political activities. Kuma-chan, the investigation division is going to be pretty tough for you. You should at least brush up on election policies. I'm not suited for the intelligence division. 'Cause I'm dumb. Heh heh heh. What am I reading? What? There was Prefectural Assembly Member Sonozaki and City Councillor Sonozaki. Also the Mayor of Hinamizawa. All of them involved with the Sonozaki family. What crap. Looks like they were seen off by the department chief and the deputy chief. It came to me. What did? That night, when the chief invited me along to get some oden, I thought that was it. You have a lot of connections, so you might have heard something, did you? Nope, not a thing. Ma'am, I'll take a tofu fritter and fish cake. A councillor barked at me in the police chief's stead. Oh my, is that so? Ma'am, I'll take another bowl. Prefectural Assembly Member Sonozaki and City Councillor Sonozaki were both intimidating. Our snot-nosed career police chief couldn't even handle being yelled at by them. They're like Yakuza. A petition with your name came up regarding how the investigation of the Hinamizawa incident is being handled. Goodness, me? I've not the faintest. No need to play dumb. You're reopening the past cases regarding Hinamizawa, aren't you? I've already got my hands full with Tomitake's death, actually. Nah-ha-ha-ha. Really? If that's true, then there's no problem. There was a period of silence. While we were silent, we made headway on our food and drink. Phew, that was quite the feast. This month has been a bunch of losses for me, so my wallet was feeling the pinch. Much appreciated. Nah, it's nothing. Tell me a good horse again. Wait, what? What? Tell me a good horse again. Oh, I'll bet on the same one as you. Naruhodo ne. Nahahaha. I haven't been doing well there lately. I haven't been able to read the horses at all. Taxi! I'm going by train. Good for you. The police chief is taking a taxi. I have my own car, but it'd be rash to drive it home. Can't blow it right before retirement with a DUI. Even though he could still rattle off, it looked like his legs were already goo. Pushing him into the cab, I gave the driver the police chief's address. Well, see you again tomorrow. Happy New Year. Oi-san. Yeah. The past incidents have all been closed. Stop lumping them together. Those villagers half believe it's really a curse. Well, I'm not convinced. You're going to be retiring next year, aren't you? Weren't you going to pay off your mortgage with your pension and move up to Hokkaido with your mum? Mother pines to return to the land of her birth. It is the least I can do. And the pension, well, it'll let me enjoy myself in Susukino. Nahahaha. The police chief may issue a special retirement salary raise, he says. A public servant's pension is calculated based on their monthly salary. So if you were to get a raise right before retirement, your bonus, 2 years' salary, would be inflated, and you'd get a heavy surplus of funds. That tends to be how it's done around here. Of course, it's not a custom that's thought of highly. The difference between the bonus and the pension is quite a bit. I'd expect nothing less exemplary from our egghead chief. But, well, they say our salary is compensation for our hard work, but in the end it really just has to do with the passage of time. That's not something I can laugh at, but I'll laugh through it anyway. I don't understand anything I'm reading right now. I don't think it's anything exemplary. But given how hard you've worked, it's not odd that you're getting that much of a pension. I'd like to get that much myself. If I can get it, well, of course I'd want it. Nahahaha. You'll get it. You're an adult after all. Why do these conversations feel like they were written by AI? Sorry for holding you up here, driver. Thank you very much. I closed the door roughly, interrupting the chief's conversation a bit rudely. It looked like the chief still had something to say, but he just smiled wryly and waved. I waved in return. The cab sped up gradually and soon disappeared among the sea of lights. Nahahaha. Oh man. I wonder if I really can repay that loan. Too real, Oishi-san. Too real. Alright, continue. That was so strange. Tappity tappity tap. The sound of muffled footsteps stopped in front of the door to my room. A moment of silence, as if whomever they belonged to was ascertaining if I was inside. Such a interesting selection of words. Of all the things I should have been doing, I continued on with my restless slumber. What? It was very much conscious, but my body hadn't caught up yet. Even with danger bearing down on me from just beyond the door. It's called sleep paralysis, bro. It was as if I was completely paralyzed, unable to move. Without a doubt, this was sheer terror. Indeed it is. Please, just leave. Hey, why isn't my body awake yet? If they came into my room right now, then... Kapow! Ooh-ah! Eek! I sprung to my feet and threw my covers at Mum, who was opening the door. Whoa! Keiichi! What's the matter? Sorry. I was still half asleep. I thought it was still 1 or 2 a.m., but the morning sun was already streaming through the gap between the curtains. It felt nothing like morning. Yesterday, I must have fallen asleep right after that. Then I should have gotten a full 10 hours of rest. But it didn't feel like that at all. My internal clock was completely screwed up and my sense of balance felt off. I felt feverish enough that it was clear to me that I was still not well. Well, Keiichi, how are you feeling? Can you make it to school? I was well enough to go, but I wasn't mentally prepared for it. I was still plagued with the terror from yesterday. If I had swallowed that needle, what would have happened? It would have been incredible owies. Or what if I had pierced my tongue? Free piercing. There was undoubtedly a murderous intent, but I don't think that's all it was. If they really wanted to kill me, then there were other, more certain ways to do it. They wouldn't resort to such a dubious method as having me swallow a needle. Meaning, I didn't want to believe it, but going that far was just a threat from Nena and Mion. Aren't you glad you didn't die? But next time, we'll use a more assured method. Like that. Something like sending a letter with a razor inside would have been a joke compared to this. Did you make it to the hospital? Did you take your medicine? Yeah, kinda. Something about my mum's dubious gaze bothered me. Dubious. She seemed more concerned about her son missing 2 days of school rather than him being sick. It was definitely mental fatigue. I wasn't really physically ill. It'll be hard for you to get back on track once your daily routine is thrown off. Come on, get up. They say wellness is a state of mind. No, Mum, that's a lie. I'd heard that line many times before. I was given an award in elementary school for having perfect attendance, but it wasn't like I was healthier than anyone. Come on, go wash your face. Breakfast is almost ready. There isn't much time before Nena-chan comes and gets you. Mum's tone meant I couldn't argue about it, so I had to give up on skipping a second day. By the way, were you the one who got bean paste? Oh, she didn't say bean jam. All over the living room wall, Keiichi. You shouldn't do something like that. Look, Mum, it's a complicated story. Your father was quite angry. I didn't feel particularly guilty for doing it, so I didn't have much of a reaction. Also, Mum didn't question me any further about it. You know, these things happen, Mum. Sometimes you just have to chuck the mochi at the wall. Come on. She headed back downstairs after she was certain I was getting up. What Mion said as she left yesterday, I'd hate it if you missed school tomorrow, came back and dwelled in the back of my head. What did she mean by that? She means exactly what she said, Keiichi-kun. I didn't even have to really think about it. She was saying don't be absent. Yeah, duh. Taking that a bit further, it was the same as her saying I should just go about living my life as if nothing happened. If I showed any signs of acting unusual, it would probably result in them making their move. For example, maybe I shouldn't pay attention to someone like Oishi-san enticing me with something unusual. Meaning, if I didn't watch my mouth or did anything differently from the norm, in effect, it would end up flagging myself as someone who was not wanted. And it seems that was something that the girls didn't intend to forgive. So, if I just went along as normal, no harm would come to me. Was that how it was going to be? All that misery I experienced up until yesterday would, almost creepily, just fade away. It was an enticing deal. Just by forgetting everything I'd seen or heard these last few days, I'd be able to keep on living like normal. There's no way such a selfish thing could. I swallowed hard. I once again deliberated on the idea that I had just rejected. Mion was probably a good person who had her friends at heart. She was giving me, who had mistakenly broken some rule of theirs, a chance. Was what I did really something so unforgivable? But Mion had given me another chance. She was saying, if I just forgot everything and kept living on like I had, I'd be forgiven. Keiichi, stop repeating everything. Go downstairs. God, your food is going to get cold. Hurry up and get down here. Nena will be here if you don't hurry. I'm coming. I crammed my textbooks into my bag and hastily made my way downstairs. God, he can waffle on. I picked up my somewhat bland breakfast. Oh, rude. It seemed that I didn't have much time. I was already past when I usually met up with Nena. Given yesterday's events, she'd probably be here in the next 5 minutes. I needed to be ready to head to school by then. I had to forget everything that had happened in the past 2 days. Forget it all and return to my normal life. Yes, you said this. For this to be normal, I'll have to be where I normally meet up with Nena. Today, of all days, the rice was dry and hard to get down. Ding dong! I jumped at the sound and dropped my chopsticks. That chime signaled that Nena had arrived. Mum hurried me along. Come on, Nena-chan's already here. Hurry, hurry. Chop, chop. My mother's merry smile and my gloomy face were polar opposites. Choppity chop chop. Honestly, I was reluctant to see Nena, who was waiting there on the other side of the door. The Nena on the other side. Was it the Nena I knew? I couldn't keep her waiting. I needed to do things as usual. Morning! An invigorating greeting filtered in from across the doorway. I came since Keiichi-kun was a bit late. Will he be okay today, I wonder? The manner in which Nena was concerned was, without a doubt, the Nena I knew. But that was probably only if I reciprocated. Forget everything from yesterday. Pretend as though nothing had happened. Forget about the gruesome dismemberment. Forget about the mysterious deaths that happened the following years. Forget about the people falling to their death, and the terminal illness and suicide, and the lynching and the disappearances. Forget it. Forget all of it. Forget that Nena and Mion were scary. Of course, forget it all. Forget about everyone. Forget about the mochi, too. Forget. Nena, once again, asked to make sure. Can you make it to school? Yeah, I'm fine. Great! Then let's go. Mi-chan is waiting. Nena showed me her usual bright smile. I couldn't find any hint of deceit in her expression. My nervousness dissipated, giving way to relief. Ah, everything's fine now. But you see, Satoko-chan was so insistent she could do it. As we were walking, Nena talked about a lot of different stuff, more so than usual. Then? Satoko-chan is clumsy, so she failed no matter how many times she tried. Oh, she was so cute. Everything Nena talked about was just silly nonsense, so I just replied every so often and laughed from time to time. Oh, ho, ho, ho. It was a rather laid-back conversation. So cute. We passed by one of our neighbours and they called out to us. Oh my, Keiichi-chan and Nena-chan, aren't you two a bit late today? Mion-chan said she was going on ahead. Uh-oh. Did Mi-chan look mad, I wonder? We need to hurry up, Keiichi-kun. Mion's gonna shank us. As we smiled and parted ways with our neighbour, they turned back towards me and stuck out a tongue. Well, that's a bit rude. Not expecting that, I couldn't help but crack a smile. How do you crack a smile? Ah, Keiichi-kun smiled. Huh? What? Nena stopped and stared at me. That's not creepy. I was thinking that you still hadn't recovered from your cold since you seemed down this morning, Keiichi-kun. But now you seem fine. Fine. With a grin, she gently poked my cheek. Ah! It was a bright, sincere smile. Hey, Keiichi Maebara, how can you still doubt Nena after she shows you a smile like that? Maybe I just had a high fever up until today and I imagined everything that I thought happened because I was bedridden and delirious. Long sentence. I really hoped that was the case. If God would grant me just one wish, there's only one thing I'd wish for. I would want what had happened in the past few days, more specifically from the night of the Watanagashi up until last night. I wanted all of that to have never happened. Dude, you get one wish and that's what you want? I wonder how many times I'd wished for this these last few days. As long as Nena kept on smiling like this, I think it might just become reality. So I wanted Nena to keep on smiling. Keep on smiling. So, Keiichi-kun? Uh-oh, is she gonna do it? Uh-oh, those mochi yesterday. Did you eat them all? That vain wish of mine was instantly shattered. My heart began palpitating. The relaxed morning mood suddenly became frigid. Nena's smile was the same as usual. Her eyes were gentle as usual. Those mochi yesterday, did you eat them all? Of course she wasn't asking the question at face value. In other words, Nena was asking, did you get the message? She was probably trying to convey that. Keiichi-kun? I was reluctant to give an answer. Nena stopped walking and stared deeply into my eyes. Don't hesitate, Keiichi Mayabara. Nena was acting the same as always, wasn't she? I needed to respond in my usual way. Naturally, of course. But both my throat and mouth had gone dry and my lips were stuck together. You should probably get that looked at. Hurry and answer, Keiichi. Not that much time had passed. I could still keep the conversation going naturally. I had to say something quickly. Duh. Nena playfully mimicked what I said when I finally squeaked something out. Nena's reaction was still normal. It seems that there wasn't as long of a pause as I had thought. Somehow I finally squeaked out the rest. Delicious. However, my strained efforts neither sullied nor brightened Nena's expression. For a moment I panicked, thinking I had replied incorrectly. But after a few moments, Nena broke into her usual soft smile and giggled with a joyful voice that seemed to echo through the morning air. Being strung along by that laugh, I couldn't help but laugh as well. I see. So did you eat all of them? I wonder. My timid smile froze again. Did you make it without swallowing the sewing needle? Was that what she was asking? If I had swallowed it, then I wouldn't be here. Nah, I couldn't finish all of them. There's still some left. I was scared out of my wits, but that's how I played it. Huh? What about the homework to see if you could tell which one Nena made? That homework. Was it due today? Yeah, it's due today. Mi-chan will get angry. There's probably a penalty game ready for you. We both laughed at each other again. To a casual observer, it was just a typical morning. If I could just let myself believe, then even I'd think that it was just a usual morning routine. But I was certain I wasn't mistaken. There was something unimaginable buried beneath the facade of this giggling Nena. Lies. I recalled that unexpected, piercing voice that I could hardly believe came from Nena's mouth. The moment that image crossed my mind, I felt a cold sweat trickle down my back. Was it only at that particular time that something evil had possessed Nena? No, that was wrong. That was still Nena. Oishi-san told me, didn't he? Actually, I looked into her. Before Ryugu-san moved away to Hinamizawa, she was suspended from school. It seems she went through her school building and broke all of the windows. Yo, the crazy eyes. Nena had a disorder that normal people didn't. No matter how pleasantly she smiled, that fact would not change. But I couldn't even imagine how she looked as she broke all the glass throughout the school. One thing I knew was that it wasn't something spur of the moment. If it was some sudden outburst of anger, then maybe she'd break a pane or two. But she broke all the windows, all throughout her school. Just imagine going through your own school breaking the windows with a bat. Oh, sound effects. Swinging full force at each pane of glass, one after the other, paying no heed to the flying shards. Your classmates aghast, unable to move from the sudden turn of events. I wonder where she could have found the most windows lined up in a row. The halls? Probably the hallway. Smash, walk, wind up, smash, walk, wind up. It was difficult for me to connect that horrifying image with the Nena smiling at me right now. But I just had to imagine it. Impossible, because it was unimaginable. That naive way of thinking no longer worked. The unpleasant, piercing sound of shattered glass, the crunching noise as Nena treads across the broken shards, walking towards me. Nena's classmates going pale as they forget to even breathe. I wondered what they did as Nena came closer, breaking windows along her path. Did they earnestly try to bring her to her senses by saying something? Or did they jump at her, trying to stop her savagery? Or did they run to the staff room after being directed there by the teachers? Probably none of those. In the face of that blood-curdling sight of Nena busting window after window, undoubtedly all they could do was silently clear a path for her. Dumbfounded, just clearing the path for Nena to continue. It was far too violent an act for them to seek refuge by looking the other way. That's not to say they were looking the other way. They were doing the only thing they could to protect themselves. If they had done something differently from the rest, they may have suddenly found themselves as Nena's new target. What would Nena have done to whoever attracted her attention? The answer was obvious. She would have undoubtedly acted according to her whims. Meaning I would, be the next window. Nena staring into my eyes, shards of glass crunching and crackling underfoot as she drew closer. I was also drawn into her eyes, paralyzed. The menu's moving. That's cool. Okay. I have to click for all the swings. That's neat. Then Nena struck me with the bat over and over again like I was one of those windows. I crouched down onto the floor, desperately protecting my head. Nena didn't care whether it was my head or my back. Zealously, she hits me again and again. Oh, what kind of expression was she making when she was doing this over and over again? I peered up to see. Her expression was so indifferent. It was completely unnerving. It's because no matter how many times she struck me, it didn't make as pleasant a sound as the other windows. I have to keep clicking for that, that's cool. She struck me continuously, over and over again. The sound Nena wanted didn't come out. Our classmates standing around didn't try to stop her. They didn't want to be the next window. Somebody save me. Turning a blind eye unless we're hanging out. But of course, everyone in class scrambled to obtain the highest standardized test scores. That just came out of nowhere. They'd gain nothing from saving a cram school try-hard like me. Oh. Eventually there would be a faint sound similar to when you crack open a walnut, and some sort of reddish-black spray would shoot out. Anyway, it wasn't that Nena momentarily lost herself in her anger. After forcing myself to breathe and calming down my heart, I recalled what Oishi-san told me. And in the counselor's medical report, he recorded all of the conversations he had with Nena-san. It shows up, and quite a bit at that. What does? She mentioned the word Oyashiro-sama. Following that, Nena was suspended and had regular examinations at the hospital. Then, as Nena was undergoing counseling, she said it over and over. Oyashiro-sama. It seems that the Oyashiro-sama she spoke of was like a ghost, appearing in her house every night, standing over her pillow looking down at her. That was only a piece of their conversation, so I still couldn't see the big picture, but it was by no means a happy little conversation. Then, what Nena did? Was she saying that ghastly incident was a result of her being possessed by Oyashiro-sama? Up until now, I didn't want to believe in Oyashiro-sama's curse. That's why I wanted to say the mysterious deaths every year happened because of some sort of conspiracy. Every time I talked with Oishi-san, I was more certain that the deaths were the work of men and not of some curse. Except, if it was people perpetrating the incidents, my friends were somehow deeply connected. If I refused to believe that the curse was real, then I would have to believe that those who acted the kindest to me were deeply involved in the incidents. Why? How? Who, what, when, where? For what reason? Was Nena? Was everybody? It was much more painful and troublesome than accepting that it was just Oyashiro's curse. In the aftermath, Nena had admitted to her doctor that it was because she was possessed by Oyashiro-sama. I felt a strange sense of relief from that. So that's how it was. There wasn't a second side to Nena. She did that because she was possessed by something strange like Oyashiro-sama. It wasn't Nena's fault. Oyashiro-sama was the one to blame. I knew this was all backwards. Refusing to believe there was a curse, I wanted there to be a human perpetrator. Now that my close friends were the ones under suspicion, I changed my beliefs at my own convenience, saying that it was Oyashiro-sama's curse to blame. Which was the better choice? Accepting that Oyashiro-sama's curse exists, or that Nena and the rest of them were deeply involved in the string of mysterious deaths? I didn't want to think about it. If I just didn't think about it, I'd be able to continue the same as always. I wanted to believe that, but that was no longer possible. I had received their message. It was pathetic of me to try and bend the meaning to my own convenience. Regardless of my opponent being a human or curse, I won't let it kill me. As if I would just bend over and give in. For no good reason at all. Damn, Keiichi, you got some issues to work through. Keiichi-kun, you've been making a really weird face. Why, I wonder? I wonder. Inhaling sharply upon hearing Nena's voice, I came back to my senses. Before I realized it, we were already at the entrance. Shaking my head a few times, I exorcised all those terrifying thoughts. No matter how you looked at it, there's no way Nena could have done such terrible things. It was like trying to placate myself. I don't know how to pronounce that word. Oh no. Alright. Anyway, we're gonna... end this episode here. I think I just got attacked by something. Yes, indeed. Alright, we're gonna end this episode here. And we're gonna come back and see everything that's going on. Everything's starting to move again, finally. Alright. That was just... big episode. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed that one. And I'll see you again next time. See ya.